Yo, what's going on? What's happening? I want to ask this question. What's up with the stabbings? I just want to know. So this is the second stabbing that occurred in Charlotte, North Carolina, on the light rail. The first one happened in, August with that mentally disturbed guy and the Ukrainian girl that he unalive. That was the first one. Then the second one was as of recent, which was a couple days ago, where, if I'm not mistaken, an El Salvadorian guy got into it with somebody and he wound up stabbing the person, causing serious injuries. And then if it wasn't earlier this morning, it was last night, where somebody got stabbed in Northeast Charlotte, right off of West Sugar Creek Road. And then this didn't happen in Charlotte. This happened in Forsyth County in Winston-Salem. A 16-year-old got stabbed to death at his high school. What's up with these stabbings? I'm just trying to understand that. Especially in North Carolina. I mean, I'm so far removed from that. From the violence, as well as, just living in America. Like, is the knife your choice of weapons nowadays? Because, I mean, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just being real. North Carolina is an open and carry state. So, I mean, you can get a firearm easy if you want to. And exercise your Second Amendment right. I'm just trying to understand this, man. Like what I'm saying is Charlotte dangerous? A dangerous city to live in nowadays? Is North Carolina just not the state to move to? Nah, don't get it twisted. North Carolina's always had that edge about them. You know what I mean? I'm not that ignorant person that, that ignorant New Yorker that went down south about 20, 30 years ago, and all he saw was, dirt roads, girls with sunflower dresses that was eating sunflower seeds. And he thought, he went back to New York and he told everybody else, down south, it's sweet, it's slow. Now, I ain't one of them dudes. I know that North Carolina, I know this to be a fact, that the numerous amount of years that I've lived there, I know ain't nothing sweet about the state. Nothing. Straight up. Nothing. Like places like Fayetteville. I mean, they call Fayetteville Vietnam. For those that live in Fayetteville or born and raised in Fayetteville, I know all about the Merc. I used to hustle on that street. And that street, I don't know if it's changed, but it's dangerous. It was dangerous. Like, in my opinion, if you're not part of the Army, there's no point in you being in Fayetteville. Because that's the only thing that Fayetteville got going for themselves, is there's an Army base there. That's it. But places like Fayetteville, Durham, forget about it. Even though it's a black city and it has culture, you know what I'm saying? A numerous amount of people, oftentimes when you bring up Black Wall Street, they'll mention the Black Wall Street that occurred in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but they always forget about the one. They always seem to forget about the one that occurred in Durham, North Carolina. They oftentimes fail to mention the Hayti area, but that's long and gone. And nowadays, Durham is not to be played with. So unless you going to school, you attended North Carolina Central University or Duke, then that's another city that there's no reason why you should be there. Maybe, just maybe, you might have a good job. I'll give you that. And you're working in the Research Triangle Park area. But even within that, you shouldn't be living in Durham. You should actually, most people will do this, and I'm not lying. You should actually be living in Raleigh, because that's a safe city to live in. That's like the suburbs of Durham. And Raleigh, I mean, you're not going to have that much of a problem, but there is a thing called racial profiling there. You know, they got something to prove, because Raleigh is the capital city. So they don't play a whole bunch of BS happening in the city, because they got something to prove. Greensboro, North Carolina, man, unless you go to North Carolina A&T, Bennett, UNCG, University of North Carolina of Greensboro, or, you know, you just so happen for the summer to visit there because they have a water park called Wet and Wild, there's no point of being there either. Charlotte, Charlotte is decent. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you could be going to school. You can be going to UNC Charlotte. You know what I'm saying? You can be going to Johnson C. Smith, which is a historically black college university. You can be, you know, you could be visiting, you know, attending a football game that's in Uptown. You know, Carolina Panthers Stadium is there. You know, right down the street from there is the minor league baseball team called the Charlotte Knights. And then right down the street from there is the Charlotte Panthers, the Charlotte Hornets. You go straight down 77, and you have this amusement park called Carowinds. There's things to do in Charlotte. There's opportunities in Charlotte. But for the most part, these major cities that I named in the state of North Carolina, the reason why that violence occurs in these cities is because the reality of it is, it ain't shit to do. Nothing. And where there's nothing to do, you know, people tend to get into some shit. And that's real talk. And I'm still just trying to understand this. Why are people getting stabbed up nowadays? What's going on with the light rail in Charlotte? Now, taking heed, I mean, when I used to ride the light rail back in the days, it was always someone that was riding the light rail that just always looked suspicious. I'm going to say it in my Dr. Umar Johnson voice. Suspicious. Real talk. I mean, let's just be real, man. Anything that the public has access to is always going to be a problem. Straight up. Whether it be public transportation, the bus, the train, public parks, or public schools. There's always going to be problems. And being that North Carolina has these cities that have become popular, you know, people are migrating to North Carolina unlike ever before. So you're getting an influx of people coming from everywhere. And these people that are coming from everywhere, they're looking for opportunity. And these people that are looking for opportunity, some of them may be positive and some of them may not be. You got to understand, people don't pick up. Excuse me, they don't pack up and leave their city and state. And while in the process of leaving their problems behind. No, excuse me, whatever problems that they have, whether it's mental or not, they take it along with them. Real talk. And throughout the years of me living in Charlotte, to be exact, to be specific, you know, I saw the city grow and or rather change overnight. And I knew it was time for me to go, regardless of whether I was priced out or not. Because one day, Charlotte's population within the city limits was 900,000. And then the next thing you know, it went to 1 million. And then the Charlotte Mecklenburg, or the metro area, grew to 3 million people in total. traffic is bad. It's people everywhere. I mean, you look on the news. What is the local news called? WBTV, 11 News or something like that. I think it was on Channel 3 and Channel 9, if I'm not mistaken. Every day they got something to say. Somebody got shot. Somebody got murdered. Now, most of the times, these murders and shootings would occur in North Charlotte. Every now and then, the negativity would sprinkle down to South Charlotte. But for the most part, it always, the violence is always kept in North, East, and West Charlotte. But taking heed, you can get it anywhere in Charlotte. Anywhere. That's real talk. And see, people thought that they were playing it smart by moving to these surrounding areas like Gastonia and Concord. And come to find out, them places ain't that great either. Even as far out as Kannapolis. Them places ain't great. They're not. You find out the hard way. But yeah, man, the South ain't the South anymore. I don't think, let me just be technical. I don't think that from South Carolina all the way down to Florida and across, Alabama, Mississippi, all the way up to Texas. So from Texas, Florida, on up to South Carolina, I don't think that the people in those states ever thought that North Carolina was ever the South. Straight up. And to be truthful with you, I've lived in North Carolina for years, and it never crossed my mind that North Carolina was like a southern city. It gives the vibe, it gives off a little bit of northern to it. Straight up, because a lot of New Yorkers, if they don't move to Virginia, they move to North Carolina. But nowadays, just like the United States is a melting pot, so is North Carolina. So you're going to get the violence, man. You're going to get it. This is so beautiful. I think y'all saw it from like the shade of my face. The sun just went down. It's crazy that I'm living in a country that the only noise that I hear is the ocean. It's a bunch of cows over here. So every now as they graze, they may say, moo, moo. They real quiet today, which is shocking. But all I hear is peace. And I'm so glad that I'm far removed from the violence. Because if I was living in Charlotte and I heard that someone got stabbed on a light rail, and this is the second stabbing, it would bother me. See, when you're young, you don't think about shit. I remember, for those that live in Durham, North Carolina, born and raised or whatever, I remember, because you'll be familiar with this street, Alston Avenue. I think that was the street that I stayed on. It was, so, for those that are old, you know what I'm saying? You know that in that area, Few Gardens used to exist. It was a projects, and I think they probably demolished it by now. If they haven't, then the projects is still up. So I stayed like a couple blocks away from Few Gardens, you know what I'm saying, in the early 90s. And I'm not gonna lie, the rent was cheap. It was a room that my girl and I was renting out for $80 a week. And I remember staying off of, it wasn't on Alston Avenue. I think it was off of Alston Avenue. I remember living on that block, and the only people that weren't on crack was my girl and I, and the two drug dealers that sold to the crackheads that was on that street, on that block. And I was cool. I was cool with it. I used to see some of every fucking thing going on. Everything. It wasn't nothing for me to see some nasty shit like motherfucking blowjobs, all that shit while they driving through the area. Like, cause it wasn't like it was just a free for all. I mean, you could do just about any and everything on the block that I lived on. I mean, hell, I used to go outside, smoke cigarettes, weed, drink beer, all that shit. The point that I'm trying to make to you is, when I was young and reckless. I preferred living in the hood. But now that I'm an adult and I have children, now I have to think about my kids. And where can I raise them while keeping them safe? And these cities are becoming a beehive of violence. Straight up. It's like a hub of violence. And the crazy thing about it is, the citizens, the people that live there, they are numb to the violence. They're numb to it. Every time I turn on the news, you know, well, of course, when I go on the internet to look at, you know, the news in America, in specific, you know, Charlotte's news, you know, you had this black lady or this black man say the same redundant shit. It's always a different face and name, but it's the same shit that they saying. And that is, whenever someone gets shot or stabbed or unalived or whatever, they say the same shit. You know, we just got to get these guns off the streets. And why can't everybody get along? Like that Rodney King type shit. Nobody's going to get along. No one's going to get along. The violence is going to keep on going because it was designed to be that way. I said this in a couple videos ago. You know what I'm saying? There is no profit in a law-abiding city where the citizens abide by the law. And it's peaceful. And people have jobs. And they respect one another. There's no homelessness. No one's robbing and shooting each other. There's no money into that. Straight up. And that's what this whole damn thing is about. Money. That's real talk. And if you don't believe me, I tell you what, this is what you do. For those that live in Charlotte. Wake up Monday morning. Drive into Uptown. And go to the courthouse. And tell me if you don't see a line wrapped around the motherfucking building. And all those people that you see that's waiting in line, they there to go to court. Because crime, believe it or not, is a fucking business. And just listen to it. Listen to what they say. You've been what? Charged. And for each charge, there's a penalty to it. Most of the time, it's you have to face time in jail, or you're penalized, you're fined. Well, I say both, because even though overall, you know what I'm saying, you're fine. Your penalty is that you're fine. Whether you do time in jail, you got to pay for that. Straight up, you got to pay for being in jail. Whatever they charge you for, and it's proven that you're guilty of the charges that they say that you committed, you got to pay for that. So that's big business, baby. You got to hire a lawyer. It's big business. You know, if you want to get out and you got a bond, you know what I'm saying? You got to bond out. It's big business. If you got to go to jail and you got to be there for about 2-3 years, there's a thing called commissary. So of course you want that. You know, where you gonna buy your cookies and your you know, I see these. I'm gonna get out of here, you know what I'm saying? But I want to say this real quick. I see these people that's in jail. They have YouTube videos and shit, and they bragging about fucking genetically modified styrofoam, made out of styrofoam plate, oodles and noodles and shit. And genetically modified tuna fish and all the rest of that shit. They sitting here talking about, I got this, I got that. They got all of that shit, but where's the freedom at? Huh? I ain't see, you didn't record. You recorded the tuna fish that you had and the Doritos and all of the junk food, the ultra processed shit, food that you have. The TV that you got, the PS5 that you got in jail. I don't know how the fuck you got that in there. But when are you going to record freedom? Where's that at? What shelf is that at? It's business, baby. That's what it is. So, crime ain't going to never end because it's big business. Langston, 2092. I'm out, baby.